Hi everyone. Today I am with Jocelyn Cheng once again. Last time Jocelyn talked about her career after she quit flying for Gulfer, and today she's going to talk about the recruitment for various airlines in Asia, and which ones she's going to tell you herself. So Jocelyn, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thanks. I hope you're good.
I'm good. Having a good Christmas over in Poland?
It's the Christmas time already, yes, and enjoying actually the nice atmosphere.
That's
So
good.
it's lovely.
Mhm.
Great. My first question is about the requirement and also the airlines that you would like to mention, because you told me that you would tell us about some airlines from China, but also from Vietnam. So can you give us some details, please?
Yes, I will start with introducing VietJet in Vietnam. They went to Russia last year to recruit some Russian crew.
Mm-hmm.
And let me start with their age and height and weight requirement.
All right.
VietJet is the budget airline, leading budget airline based in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And for the candidates, they require someone who's 18 to 30 years old. For the male, the height should be 170 cm to 185 cm, which is 5 feet 7 inches to 6 feet 8 inches. And for the female candidate, the height should be 160 cm to 175 cm, and which is 5 feet 2 inches to 5 feet 8 inches. So moving on, I will talk about the different Chinese carrier that is recruiting in Europe. A lot of carrier are recruiting in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
There is a total of around um, 6 different airlines that is recruiting in Europe, with
Mm-hmm.
3 of them based in Beijing, which is the capital of China. First of all, we have the national carrier, which is Air China, and then we have Beijing Capital Airline, and then we have Hainan Air. For Hainan Air, the base is in Hainan, but for all the foreign and expatriate crew, they are all based in Beijing because they are rostered in international flight only.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have China Southern, which is
Okay,
based
can I
in.
interrupt you for a second? Because you said that you would tell us about the age and height,
Yeah.
and also about, yes, you mentioned age, you mentioned height, and you mentioned one more.
The weight. Let's not talk about the weight because
Uh-huh.
weight, I do not have the exact weight.
Okay, but
Mm.
about the height and the age for, yes, you mentioned the height. What about the age?
The age, the
Vietnam.
age is for 18 years old to 30 years old.
Uh-huh, for both male and female.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm sorry. Now you can continue about the Chinese airlines.
It's okay. And then we have China Eastern, which is based in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the airline in China prefer younger crew, which is from 20 to 28 years old, but
Mm-hmm.
some other airline require more experienced crew. And
Mm-hmm.
one leading airline in China recruit crew up to 40 years old. For
Mm-hmm.
the non-experienced crew, they recruit up to 35 years old. So uh, you have to take note that different airline in China has different policy
Mm-hmm.
with
Okay.
regarding age. But
Yes.
the mhm. But the requirement for the height is basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, some airline would ask you to pass the arm reach test, which is 220, 212 cm, without the aid of high heel, and when you when you do a tiptoe, you have to reach the 212. Some other carrier would prefer some candidate which is 163 cm to 175 cm for female in particular, and that would be around 5 feet 5 inches to 5 feet 9 inches. And for male cabin crew, their height preference is from 175 cm to 185 cm, which is roughly around 5 feet 9 inches to 6 feet 1 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So this basically sum up my height and weight requirement and age requirement for the different carrier in Vietnam and in China, which recruit in European country.
All right. So basically, the recruiters come to Europe and they do the open day, just like most of the Middle Eastern airlines.
Yes. The recruiter come to your home base country and they do the recruitment in English. Please take note, even though Chinese is widely spoken on the aircraft, because a lot of Chinese can speak English, the passenger, but a lot of them still have difficulty conversing in English. But European candidates are not required to have basic Chinese communication skills during the interview. The basic Chinese communication skill is provided for during training. Whether a person or a cabin crew can pass the training, it also depends on whether they pass their basic Chinese proficient skills.
But the training itself is in English. It's just basics, of course, of Chinese for communication on board.
Yes. The training itself is in English. Everything is in English.
And you also mentioned to me before in the interview that basically the European crew don't do much turnarounds, so the short flights, within Asia, but they usually go on some longer routes to Europe, to the United States.
Yes, basically European crew are hired for language. They would be rostered on flight which they from their home country, or on flight which requires European language, because Chinese carrier, they see a need for this. They think European passenger would be more comfortable and friendly when they see a familiar face who could speak the native language fluently.
Okay. But the crew are, of course, based in Asia.
Yes, they will be based in Asia for all airline that is recruiting in Europe at the moment.
And what about the length of the contracts? Because I know that usually people also ask about that. What about the length?
For the Vietnamese carrier, the length of the contract is 3 years, but for Chinese carrier, it all depends. Some company would have initially 1 year contract and it's renewable, and some company will have 3 years contract and it's renewable. It all depends on the company.
Okay. And what is the flying time, average flying time for the month?
The average flying time for the month would be around 110 hours for a Chinese carrier, because most cabin crew are rostered on international flight, so the flying hours is guaranteed. If they were to be based in Vietnam and be flying for the budget carrier, then that would be around 100 hours, because they turn to have mid-haul to shorter flight for the Vietnamese carrier, and the European crew will be rostered on domestic flight as well.
Okay. And there is some information from you about the salary. What is the salary like?
The salary. Speaking of salary, I believe everyone likes this part. For Chinese carrier, it's might not be as attractive compared to the Middle East, but it is a very good salary. Most of them have a fixed monthly salary, which is around 2,000 euro and less than 3,000 euro. So that would be the salary. It all depends on your flying hours. And for Vietnam, the salary is around 2,000 euro monthly salary.
Because it's a budget airline.
Yes, but then again, with budget airline, it all depends on your sales skills, how you sell the passenger, the different merchandise on the aircraft.
Okay, so there's something like duty free, and the crew need to also sell.
Yes, there's a lot of duty free and food that needs to be sold.
So that means candidates with some experience in the customer service, like shops, restaurants, cafes, are welcome. They already know how to deal with the customers, and know how to be nice and how to encourage to sell things, to recommend.
Definitely.
Okay, excellent. Good. The what are the stages of the interview? Because we already know the recruiters come to Europe and they do the recruitment. What details can you give us?
Okay, so let me start with the Vietnamese carrier, Vietjet first. It's the stages of interview. It's very similar to most budget carrier in Europe or in Asia. First of all, it's document collection, and followed by height and weight check. Some people will be eliminated during this round. After that, some of the candidate will stay, and then there will be a grooming check. Grooming check is you will be guided into a room, and the interviewer will sit in the room. Will be required to walk and turn and answer some very brief question. During this round, the interviewer will observe you, and they are quite particular about female candidate legs.
Legs.
Yes, because the uniform itself is for ladies, you have to wear shorts.
Shorts or skirts?
Shorts like Girl Scout and Boy Scout. Yes.
Fine. Okay.
So they are very particular about ladies' leg, and for guy, it's good to have a good and healthy physique. Yeah.
So guys should go a little bit to the gym to work out.
Yes, definitely. Young and sexy.
Okay, so that's the point. Something to make something to improve then in the next year. So maybe not nice New Year's revolution.
It's a New Year resolution for me as well. Young and sexy.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a good one. Good start for the year. To keep fit and healthy. Okay, great. I think we can stop here. And in the next part of the interview, you are going to give more information about the open days for Asian Airlines.
Yes.
All right. Okay, great.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mirella, and speak to you soon.
Thank you very much for your time, and let's see each other in the next part of the interview.
Definitely.
See you soon.
See you.